the instructions for that. So that, hopefully we can get that done before our next session.
Sure, I'll get that done for sure.
And then the second section here is really for you, installing the Pardot app in Salesforce. It's a little different than installing an app on the App Exchange. It's just, there's some instructions here for that. And just changing the page layouts on leads and contacts. Tells you where there's Visualforce pages as well as fields and sections and buttons for the page layout. So this shows you how to do that. That will be easy for you. And applying Pardot permissions in Salesforce. So specifically to any, are you going to have any other users using Salesforce with Pardot?
No, just me.
Just you. So you'll obviously have permissions. So, but if you could just quickly read that, you'll get an idea of how the permissions. It comes with a couple permission sets when you install the app. So then today, what we'll do is we'll navigate Pardot. I'll show you how to, navigate it, how it's all, the links all work, and then we'll go into the tracking code, and we'll go through all the administration pieces, as well as discussing the different connectors, fields, going into the users, and how to import data, and we'll get started on reviewing prospects. All right?
Okay.
So I'm going to turn the mouse over to you. And you can go ahead and log into Pardot.
Okay, I've done that already. So stop sharing. I don't know if you can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. All right.
Okay, excellent. So here we are on the dashboard. We'll get into this more when we talk about reports. But if you go up to, the first thing we're going to do is the tracking code. So if you go up to marketing,
Okay.
So this is where all the content is built, this marketing section. It's where lists are built, it's where landing pages are built, forms, email templates. And the first thing we're going to do is go to campaigns.
Okay. So we're going to go to campaigns, all right.
So as we go through Pardot, you'll see that everything is associated with a campaign. And campaigns, you can think of those more like lead sources in Salesforce, whereas like more general, and whereas lists in Pardot are more like campaigns in Salesforce.
Okay.
So a prospect can be associated with more than one list, but can only have one campaign.
Right. Okay.
So, so that's the big difference between the two. It's a little confusing because, Salesforce campaigns are different than Pardot campaigns. Pardot campaigns are designed to be the first point of contact that the prospect made with the organization.
And I think you could, if you're trying to make an analogy, you might say like in the Salesforce campaigns, you can make like a parent campaign, and then a bunch of child campaigns. So you could say that, I'm going to do like, your parent campaign could be oil and gas acquisition, and then below that it's going to be, hey, we're going to do a trade show, and I'm going to send out an email, and do those types of things. So I get it, right? That
Exactly.
The campaign is just the bigger picture. This is our website, and this is our email, and this is our advertising, or web, whatever, landing pages, I guess, and then
exactly. Yeah. So, yes, you get it. And then when you build lists, you can send them over to, Salesforce campaigns as members, which is kind of cool. So you can, and the ROI tracking between you and me is really better on the Salesforce side in campaigns than it is here because, and you'll see why, but it's a little more relevant on that side. But let's go into, if you click into web tracking.
Okay, click web tracking.
And anything highlighted in blue is a link. It's a link to another page. So this is the web tracking campaign. So there's two campaigns that come with Pardot, and it's the web tracking and the email plugin. So if any prospects that are associated with a campaign will be listed here. If there's a prospect in Salesforce that's listed under contact roles and opportunities, then the opportunity will come over too.
Right.
So that's important to know because, we both know that unless the contact is associated with an opportunity, there's no way to associate, track it.
Right.
So, but for the tracking code, this is website tracking. So if you go up to the top,
Up to the top. Okay. Yeah. Like here.
scroll up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see a button that says view tracking code.
View tracking code. Okay.
Click on that.
Yeah.
So this is the code that you want the web developer to put in on all the pages.
Okay. So that's what. So
Okay.
I use just like a WordPress site. So I'll just tell them, they've got to have some place in WordPress that you can insert these things. So I will figure that out.
Yeah, and I don't know how to do it, but
Okay.
yeah, I think there's a way you can propagate it through all your pages, so you don't have to do them one by one.
Right.
So that way, when a prospect is a visitor and you don't have any information about them, if they're just visiting your website, and then once they fill out that form, you'll be able to track that visitor converted to a prospect.
Okay. All right.
All right.
So I need to get this
So that's
to the
tracking.
web developer. Okay.
Yep. Okay. So then let's go back to the campaign list. So just go back. I think if you go to the top, just go back.
So I'm in the website tracking
And-
campaign right now.
Yeah. So we want to go back to the list of campaigns. So
Back,
I think if you scroll all the way to the top, maybe you have a link. But either way.
Okay.
So here's your list of campaigns. We're going to add a campaign here
Okay.
called first Salesforce import.
Okay. Add campaign, and then you have to bear with me. I'm a bad typer. First, Salesforce import. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So the reason I'm having you do this is because when we import your first list from Salesforce into Pardot, all of those, it'll prompt you for a campaign for all of those new prospects, and so this is the best way to do that.
Okay.
Label it first Salesforce import.
So am I going to put
and then
all, like if I have, like I have in my Salesforce, I have like, let's say 2,000 contacts associated to oil and gas service companies. Is the idea to bring all of those guys into Pardot, or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Yep. And you'll find, some companies have 20,000 contacts and leads in their database, and there's Pardot pricing is based on 10,000 contacts, so you definitely want to advise them to break it out into smaller chunks so that they don't get this suddenly new bill
Right.
on their monthly subscription. So, so the idea will be to export your 2,000 contacts because ideally you only want your best, most qualified contacts in Salesforce and your unqualified, lists in Pardot. And so you allow Pardot to do sort of the slicing and dicing and qualifying, and then only the good qualified leads or contacts come over.
Okay.
So that's the idea.
And if I just
so
had
if you
like
go to-
just one more, so I have like say oil and gas service companies is my main focus, and let's say oil and gas companies, I have a bunch of contacts related to them. Would you suggest that would be another campaign, or just bring them all into the Salesforce first import, because it doesn't really matter?
Say that again. You have
So-
oil and gas.
Yeah, so let's say I have two main verticals that I'm going after. One is oil and gas services that might have like 5,000 contacts. And then
Right.
I have oil and gas companies that might have like 1,000 contacts. Is it better to
Yeah.
create two campaigns there, or one campaign would suffice?
Well, we'll have one campaign, and we're going to have two lists.
Right. Okay. One
So-
campaign, two lists. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So, and I would import all of them again. I mean, is that pretty much your maximum in your Salesforce now? Is about 6,000?
No, I've got a lot of contacts. I'm a collector, so it's
You're a collector.
I
Okay.
am, but I'm good at building lists, so that's not a, I can
Okay.
filter those down pretty easily. So yeah,
Okay.
to stay under
Good.
10,000.
Great. Awesome. All right. Okay. So first Salesforce import. So all of those two segments would be tagged as first Salesforce import. Now the next field is folder. Everything has, you'll notice throughout Pardot, it prompts you for a name and a folder. So if you click on choose, folders are, frankly, a little bit in Pardot kind of clunky to maneuver around. But, as you build more campaigns, it's good to build out folders. Sometimes people will build them out for a year, like 2017 campaigns. Or 2000, like over to the left are all the folders that come with Pardot.
Right.
So under like campaigns, you could add a new folder called 2017.
That sounds good.
That might be a good best practice.
Okay, there we go.
That's filter. We want to click add folder. There we go.
Oh.
So filtering is searching, and then add folder is creating. So yep, call
Okay,
it
so
2017.
right here. Okay, 2017.
And maybe put 2017 campaigns so you can see it clearly.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. Beautiful.
All right. So that's sort of a good best practice, and you can do that as you go. You build out these folders. So then to select this folder, it's whatever's in the gray in the middle is where you choose. So over on the left is sort of navigating, and then the middle is when you choose the folder you want.
Right, so just hit the choose folder button then, I guess, right? Or choose
Yep.
selected. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
There we go. All right.
Choose selected. Yep. All right, and then the next three fields, cost. This has to, just like campaigns in Salesforce, you can do an ROI on campaigns in Pardot. But again, I think the Salesforce campaigns are better. And then tags. Anything in Pardot has a tag, so it's just another way of searching. So, you might not need a tag for everything.
Right.
And once your database gets bigger, you might, but.
It's comma, or there we go. So it's so campaign, and I'll say oil and gas service company, OGS, and 2017. So there's some tags. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Okay, and then archive date is the date you want this campaign or list that'll ask you the same thing to disappear, but it doesn't disappear completely from Pardot. It just sort of disappears on the main list, like you see down below, the current campaign list.
So January 1, 2018. How's that?
Sure.
Okay.
That's great. And so you'll see under Pardot campaigns, if you click create campaign, there you go.
There we go.
There it is.
Salesforce import. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, there you go. And over, you'll see the column, the number of visitors associated with that campaign, as well as the number of prospects. So like that comes into play with website tracking. If you have people visiting the page and there's that tracking code on there, that visitor will be associated with the website tracking campaign.
Right.
And then you could build out other website tracking campaigns if you wanted to get really specific, like pricing page tracking, or you could break it out to your most important pages if you wanted.
Right.
And get the tracking code for those.
I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'll just do the...
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So in all of these different sections in Pardot, you have this area for view. If you click view and open up that little pick box window where it says view current campaigns.
Where is that? So current campaigns, where's the view? Is it...
Right there. Yeah, current campaigns. There's a little arrow next to it.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Archived in all campaigns.
And
okay,
then,
great.
Yeah. So when you archive something, it's not gone. It's just under archive campaigns.
Right.
All right. So all of the pages throughout Pardot have this view field.
So I have a question then.
Okay.
So I've got, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to bring in 5,000 oil and gas service guys that have, email addresses or presidents
Yes.
or whatever I decide to import here. And
Yep.
then I'm going to put the code on all my all my pages. And
Yep.
so let's say that, Johnny, the president of ABC Oil and Gas Service Company, comes in and his email is in this list or this campaign that I created. And then
Yep.
he hits a page. Is he going to show up here in this line, or is he going to show up in that line?
No.
Or
Because you imported him first, his first initial campaign will be first Salesforce import.
right.
But when he fills out a form, you can change his campaign to be whatever you want.
Right.
You know.
So he's going to show up. So I'm going to put the website tracking code on. I'm going to load his name into my list here into a campaign. Then when he hits a page, he's going to show up here as a visitor and a prospect, or a prospect here. Like, so it's going to say, hey, boom, one of your guys just showed up, and then I could click
Yeah.
into it and see it was a web page, or it'd be, it was a website that he clicked on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yep. So that's sort of an overview of campaigns, and it will make more sense as we go through how campaigns interact with all the other different features in Pardot.
Okay.
So let's go down to admin.
Admin. Okay.
And let's go down to, so we're going to cover a few things in here. We're going to cover connectors, configure fields, imports, and user management.
Okay.
So let's go to connectors first. We'll just go down the list.
Okay. Connectors.
This is where we're going to set up your Salesforce connector. And this is
Okay.
going to be part of your homework, is to get this all set up. So Pardot comes with these two LinkedIn and Data.com connectors, but they're not all set up because it's not linked into your LinkedIn account yet.
Right.
But if you click Add Connector here, you'll see all the different types of connectors that Pardot is capable of connecting with.
Okay.
So there are
Salesforce.
CRM connectors, which is Salesforce, and you have webinar connectors. So this, do you have GoToWebinar where you?
Well, I'm going to
anything,
have
or-
to change. I'm a Join Me customer, and it's not a huge investment that I made there. So I guess I'm going to have to make a conversion here to GoToWebinars.
Well, not necessarily. So like we're on a GoTo meeting, but that has nothing to do with the connectors. GoToWebinar would be if you hosted a webinar with, I don't know, does that system you use now do webinars?
I can
Where
do
you can
webinars.
record them and
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I mean, I'm not webinars. I'm not overly concerned about those right now, just because they're a little bit
Yeah.
further down the list of things. Mine are just like one-on-one. Like it's like, hey, I got a demo, and I do a demo, right?
Right.
I mean, and
Yeah.
I track
you don't
that.
do a how-to.
And the opportunity and stuff like that. So I'm
Yeah,
not doing,
right.
a every day. I just don't have the resources.
How-to instruction.
Yeah.
Right, me neither. You have plenty of business as it is, it sounds like. Oh, and
Yeah.
by the way, I was thinking about that big pipe that's coming through your way, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot of clients that are going to be busy, right?
Well, hopefully it's this big,
Hopefully.
if it gets through. I mean, it's one thing to say Trump say he's going to put it through, and it's another thing for the courts and everything else to say, because it could
True.
take 4 years, and if he lasts more than 4 years, it's I'll be surprised, but we'll see, right? It's
I was thinking of you.
yeah, I appreciate
So,
that. Thanks.
Then the next section is other connectors. So you can connect to Google AdWords. Frankly, I don't know if it really gives you that much more functionality than just having Google AdWords. Are you familiar with Google AdWords?
Yeah, I've got
They
Google.
give you-
I mean, I've used Google AdWords, and I've got analytics and stuff like that. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your social media connectors, add this in full contact. I'm not familiar with them. And then event connectors, Eventbrite is great for RSVPs for events, and then having those prospects come into Pardot is great if you ever run into that situation. video connectors, and then social posting connectors. So this is, you're going to want to set up your Facebook, your Twitter, and your LinkedIn so that you can, if you post out to those, you can do it all in one shot. It goes out to all three, and you can use landing pages from Pardot to post out to those, and you could do a lot more tracking that way. So for the Salesforce connector, that's the most important one. So you go ahead and click on that. And in that email, I gave you some instructions on the Salesforce side. But to do this, you're going to, the verification process will require you to log into Salesforce and have to be an admin just for your client purposes. And I usually recommend that clients, if they can, if they have an extra license, to have a dedicated connector. Because, like, you know, your clients they have turnover, the person leaves, you deactivate them in Salesforce, and suddenly your product connector doesn't work.
Oh yeah, I've had that.
So
that happens with other apps too, right? I mean, I've done some
Yeah,
install work for
right.
One that connects like Microsoft accounting system to Salesforce, and the same kind of concept
Yeah.
there, right? So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of a best practice.
Okay.
So go ahead and click Create Connector.
Okay, create the connector, and I do, that's me, and allow.
And what's going to happen is it's probably not going to let you do this because you don't have the app installed yet in Pardot or in Salesforce.
Right.
So you get a warning that it does not have all the permissions. That's because you haven't installed the app and all those instructions I just put in an email. So that's what your homework is to do that side in Salesforce, and then we can come back in here and do this again next time we meet.
Okay.
Or you can try it yourself. When
Sure.
new leads are, whoops, okay, I was going to
Oh,
explain
did you
that
want me to
page.
put that? Sorry, yeah. Okay. Let me go back to there. So
That's okay.
Connector, Salesforce, create connector, behinds, allow. So eventually the screen will come back up here for you.
Yep. So once you have that app installed, some of these questions are very important, these settings, because some of them you can't undo after you do it the first time.
Okay.
So we might want to do this together next time. But when new leads or contacts sync from Salesforce, choose which campaign to assign them to. So if you create a contact in Salesforce after this connector is installed, it will automatically come over to Pardot. And if it does, what do you want that campaign name to be? So if you open up that pick box, we could create a campaign called Came from Salesforce or something.
So you wouldn't want to put it
Know
in
what
the
I mean?
first. Yeah, you wouldn't want to put it
No.
in the first import one? No.
No, because that's like our first import we're going to do next week.
Right.
This is ongoing. So we might create a campaign called Came from Salesforce.
So I add, like I like to add, say, 50 new contacts a week. So those will all just come over on that side of it.
Exactly. And what do you want those to be tagged as in Pardot?
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So go to the next question underneath there. It says, if records do not have a CRM, can you hide your little tick box there? If records do not have it, these are all settings you can choose for the connector. If records do not have a CRM ID to match when syncing, use email address to match.
That sounds cool, I guess.
Records do not have CRM to match. Use email address to match. I usually uncheck that because I like to have a one-to-one sync based on record ID.
Okay.
It just seems cleaner than finding an email address match when you might have two contacts with the same email address in Pardot or Salesforce. You want to make sure it's synced up to the right person. So I would uncheck that.
Okay, so keep that unchecked, and just every contact I bring over is going to come over from Salesforce anyway, so they're all going to have CRM IDs.
They're all going to.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
The next one was exclude Salesforce partner and customer portal from prospect assignments. So this
not a problem for me. I don't have either one of those. So.
Yep, and most people don't, right?
If I don't have them, I could check it then, or if I don't have them, it's not applicable. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't check it off. the next one, automatically match Salesforce users to Pardot users. You would want to check that off, obviously, so
Okay.
that when users they're synced up, so that when you assign a prospect in Pardot, it's assigning it to a Salesforce person user.
Oh,
So you want to check that one off,
Check that off. Okay.
and then hit the plus sign where it says email logging.
Okay.
Sync emails with the CRM. Do you have Engage? Did you buy Salesforce Engage?
Yeah,
You did. Okay.
I did. Yeah.
All right. So there's separate instructions for Engage configuration in Salesforce. But let's just get the regular Pardot set up, and we'll talk about that maybe at the end. Sync Engage emails with the CRM. We'll check that off. Sync plugin emails with the CRM. I don't know what that is.
So
and
the
then
email
click
though
the-
is like if I send an email campaign, like if I send 100 emails out from sales or from Pardot, what it's saying here is put those in as activities. I
As
guess.
an activity. Yeah, exactly.
And I would click that to say to make that happen, and I'd want that. So it's,
Yeah,
yeah.
right,
Okay.
for both of them. Yep.
Okay, got that.
I don't know what plugin emails are. I don't know what that means. And then email notifications. So this has to do with being notified when certain things happen. Enable Salesforce emails for task creation. So when a task is created, Salesforce sends out an email, right?
Yeah.
Enable Salesforce emails for assignment rules. So allowing, if you have assignment rules built out in Salesforce, use that email system that notifies you have a new lead.
Right.
So you want those checked off. And same with, unless they're not using assignment rules, then it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
enable
It's not a
Salesforce-
big deal right now for me, but it's
Right.
could be.
It's helpful for you to know how it works for your clients.
Yeah.
Enable Salesforce emails for user and queue assignments. You'll want to check that one off too.
Okay. So check all
So
those
best
off.
practices around assignments, like if a prospect fills out a form and you don't have them in Salesforce, you'll want to think about, all right, so what sort of activity do I want to trigger them to be assigned a salesperson? And once they're assigned a salesperson in Pardot, then their record is created in Salesforce as a lead.
Right.
So that's sort of best practice. So we don't send every prospect that fills out a form, especially unless it's a small company like yours. You want to know right away, right?
Yeah.
But if
I want
a
everybody.
bigger company, they have thousands of people coming in, they only want to see certain ones that meet certain criteria.
Right.
So you'll want-
It's not a Gmail address, and it's president and whatever, right? I guess those would be
Yeah,
the criteria
exactly.
that they would set. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yep. And you can do assignments in a couple of different ways in Pardot. You can assign them to a specific salesperson, or you can send them to rely on Salesforce assignment rules. So they'd be assigned to Salesforce assignment rules, and then Salesforce would do the assigning. Or you could send them to a queue, just like you can in Salesforce.
Yeah.
So then you would check off the third one as well.
Right. Yeah.
And then
So I
you
would
would
do
click
that.
finish. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's
But
not going to
we're
let
not
you
gonna do
finish
that.
because,
Yeah.
So go ahead and cancel out of there.
Okay.
All right? So that's the connector.
So the LinkedIn
And-
one's here. So I just come over here to edit that, or that's delete. Like, how do I put my LinkedIn connection or stuff in there?
I would go click Add Connector.
And then just do a new one then. Yeah.
Yeah, and do a new one.
And come in here down here like this the LinkedIn one, and then do it that way.
Exactly.
Create
Yep.
connector, and then go through the process. I said create connector, verify, and then just go through the verify on that side of it. Okay.
And then
So I'll just
yep,
delete it.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So do you want me to send you the instructions on the social connectors? You can have those set up by next week too.
Yeah, sure. Why don't we do that? I mean, I've got 2,300 connections in LinkedIn. I've got like the enterprise version of of Pardot. So I'll have to see if that gives me more what my limit is on my contacts there that I can bring in. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's because the LinkedIn ones I've done a good job. Most of them are oil and gas service related, but yeah, that would be a good thing. And then I'll maybe
Okay, you're right.
instructions. I do have data.com as well, but I put the data.com stuff directly into Salesforce, and then that would come over anyway. So I don't think I need to connect to data.com.
Right. I don't think
Okay.
so. Good. Awesome. All right, so let's go back to admin.
Okay.
So we found connectors is under admin connectors. The next section is configure fields. So this is where you build out your fields, your custom fields. So you have so you have account fields and you have prospect fields. So we're going to focus on prospect fields. And prospects are either leads or contacts. You know that, right? In Salesforce.
Prospects are leads or contacts, okay?
Yep.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what happens is when something changes in Pardot, let's say somebody fills out a form and they add a mobile phone number, and you don't have that in Salesforce, it'll first look for the contact record, and if it doesn't find the contact record, it looks for the lead record, and we'll insert the mobile phone there.
Right.
So, but in here, these are all your fields, just like in setup in Salesforce. So at the top, you have your custom fields, and then default fields are your standard fields that come with the system, right? Your basic ones.
Right.
The bottom right, all your pages throughout Pardot, you have this little showing 5 of 30. I don't know why it always defaults to 5, so let's open that up to show all.
Yeah, I should have said
Okay.
no, but that's close enough. So we'll go
Yep.
50. There we go.
So over on the left is the name of the field, and then you have the middle column is the the API name, and then the type. So once we install the connector, we're going to want to come in here and sync up certain pick list values like industry, lead source, anything that's like a pick box. We'll want to make sure we're syncing with the CRM.
Okay.
So, and to do that, when you click, we'll do that next time because you're not going to. It installs new functionality once the connector's installed, so we won't see it.
Right.
But let's go to the top. What you also want to do between now and next time is to enter any of your custom fields that you have for leads or contacts that you want.
I've got tons, but just only the ones you want.
Not all of them. Not all of them. Just the ones that you would want to build lists off of in Pardot, or ones that you might want to add to a form for someone to fill out. So what are maybe some of the examples off the top of your head that you're...
Well, I have, I use industry, and then I use like industry description, which is a sub-industry. And so that would allow me to build some lists, right? So I'd come in here and say, okay, but these are this is not account stuff. This is contacts, I guess, right? So it's the industry stuff is located in the account record. So when I bring this over, that allows me to bring some account stuff and contact stuff with the contact, I guess, right?
So these, under prospect fields, these are contact or lead fields. But if you go under admin fields, there was also those account fields, so you'll want to add account fields as well. Did you remember seeing that?
Yeah.
If you go to, So you add your account fields there and your contact fields here. So you can build lists off of accounts.
Right, so that I'm gonna say, hey, I want some account fields and I want some contact fields, and then when I bring those guys over and they have the ID, then I can do the mapping, both the account field and the contact field, but it's related to the contact that I bring over. Correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. All right. So that'll be your homework. So you will create your custom fields in here. Just a handful of them, so you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Get it set up, and you can always come back, obviously, and add more fields that are missing that you want in the future. It's fine. All right, go ahead and go to admin.
Okay.
So that's configure fields. So you have accounts and prospect fields, and then we're going to go first. We'll go down to user management, and then we'll talk about importing. So let's go down to user management.
Users.
Users, yep. When you're installing this for a client, you'll want to make sure you put all of the Salesforce users as Pardot users, especially the salespeople. And the clients have a hard time getting their hands around that because they think Pardot, well, that's marketing. Why do my salespeople? In order for leads and prospects to be assigned, they need to be Pardot users. And it doesn't cost any more to have more users in here.
Okay.
So
the one thing that's a little frustrating, I got to bring it up with them, is that they tried to do my account with my P Hines at point.ca, and then I don't know, supposedly it's assigned to some other Pardot instance. So I do consulting, somebody bought Pardot, and they put me in as a user, right? I have no idea, who that is. So it's so they had to use my Gmail one, which doesn't seem to be too much of a problem, but I barely go to that address, right? So it's
right.
they're forwarding some stuff there and things like that. So.
Oh, well, that's a pain.
Yeah.
I guess yeah. So this should match what's in Salesforce, right? Your email address.
I would hope it would. I mean, I don't think that'll. The problem is I have two instances of Salesforce, and the second instance is what we use as that data acquisition engine. That's my password for that one. So when I do my connector, I don't want it connecting to that one because I have no contacts over there. I have a few contacts.
Right.
It's mostly just account stuff. So if it becomes an issue, I'll go back to them and say, tell me the org that it's in, and then I'll call those people and I'll get them to remove me as a user.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Right. Okay. Because you were a consultant for them, so that's why. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they had me as a Salesforce user. And and I only have a couple of accounts that actually given me my own account name, so I'll find out who that is.
Right. That probably would be best because I'm not sure that email address is pretty important, but I don't know if it has to do with it. Yeah, because it's going to sync up with your user in your Salesforce instance. This has to sync. And But that might be on username. If you go to Actions, so let's click Edit.
Yeah, well, let me edit it. I tried.
Oh, if you click Actions, you can't edit your. Right.
Yeah,
you can't edit your email address. But
well, I did try edit it, and then when I went to save it, it said I couldn't edit it.
Okay. When you install the connector, it's going to prompt. If you scroll down a little more, I want to see if these fields are here yet. No, once you install the connector, there's going to be a couple new fields on here that have to do with CRM user ID and you'll sync up that way. And I don't know if you'll get an error because the email addresses don't match. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, we'll find out here.
You'll find out. All right. So that'll be one thing you do with your clients when you set up. They set up all their users. They need to go into each one and make sure they're synced up with Salesforce.
Okay.
Okay.
All
right. All right. So that is users. And then the last thing I just wanted to highlight under admin was import. And we're going to do this next time. Go to import.
Yeah. And prospects is what we would.
So this is where we're going to import your prospects. We're not going to import opportunities because those will come across if the prospect is associated with an opportunity. And I'm just going to kind of give you a high overview of this, and we'll do this again next time together and actually import your data. So across the top is it's a wizard. It's just like Salesforce Data Import Wizard. But there are a couple things to point out. One is these two settings, create and update prospect using Salesforce Leader Contact ID. I would always select that first one so we have one-to-one. And then upload the file. So it'll be important when you create your two lists, your oil and gas services and your oil and gas customer list, that you include the Salesforce ID in that list.
But I'm going to save it as a CSV file. Like we're not, even though I'm connecting to Salesforce, am I just pointing it to a list that's in Salesforce, or am I physically need a CSV
file? So the first thing, what you're going to, the CSV. So you're going to create a report in Salesforce, include your contact ID, the first name, last name, and email address is all you need, and export that to a CSV file. And then when we import it, that ID list will, that ID field will be created in Pardot.
So when you look at address, so I've got the city that the person's in and their title and things like that. If I wanted to create like a list in Pardot and I said, oh, I only want to see presidents, would I need to have that included in that CSV, or does it come over once I get the ID set up and stuff like that?
Exactly. It comes over, really, theoretically, you only need the ID because it will all come over automatically. But I like to have the name and email just to verify, safety.
Okay.
So,
Right.
plus it's required to have an email address and a last name in Pardot.
Okay.
So that'll be part of your homework is to export create that report. And I would create 2, so we can do 2 exports so you get good at this.
Okay.
And once that connector is installed, we'll import them right here. And that first step, it's just going to prompt you. First, I'll just tell you what it's going to do. You're going to upload the file. The second step is to map the fields, contact ID to Pardot contact ID, first name to last name, etc. And then the third step, going across the top, select campaign. So then it's going to prompt you for the campaign, and we created first Salesforce import. So we'll select that campaign. And then the action is, do we want to create a list? So lists, like I said, are like campaigns in Salesforce. So we're going to build out a list called oil and gas services and a list called oil and gas customers, and those people will be associated with those lists. And then we'll confirm and save it. And so we'll do this together next time if you get your homework done. So
I should
that'll
be able to do that.